Check, check, check 1, 2. Everyone hear me out there? You could find your places. We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to say good morning and welcome. Excited to be here in front of all of you fine people. Odaza O-gah-pah nikashi. At this time, I'd like to call our distinguished elder Flossie Matthews to give the invocation. So if you can and you're able, please stand. Thank you.
Aho, Intate Wakanda. Dear God, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. Be with all of the people that are here, all the Quapaws, and be with our leaders of our nation now, and be with the sick and the afflicted, be with our soldiers overseas, be with their families, be with all of us, and let us all join together and give our good nation a good hand. Aho, Intate.
Gonna gay, Flossie. Thank you. Mr. Barker, roll call, please.
Lloyd. Present. Zach. Randy. Michelle.
Present.
Guy. Present. Callie.
Present.
Joseph.
Here.
5 present. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll do the reading, correction, and approval of minutes and phone polls.
I will make a motion to accept. You can hear me. Sorry.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a second. All approved signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 corrections. They're trivial but important.
Yes, sir, Mr. Buffalo.
On page 1, where it said that I tabled a motion, I would like for that to also include the reason that motion was tabled due to the fact the resolution had been tabled the previous week. I would also like the resolution number included in the minutes. Also, it's under John Rogers. I'll get the correct page here in just a moment. Under the second bullet point, it says something about the CFO. There was a rumor flying around that he carried out documentation that should have been carried out. That should say should not have been carried out.
Motion, or do I need a, can I?
Yeah.
Got that?
Can I will amend my motion to accept the corrections that have been presented as well as other grammatical errors throughout that I will get with the secretary about.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Yeah, call for the question.
For the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Approved. At this time, approval, disapproval of treasurer's report.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Approved. The treasurer's report. Moving down, approval, disapproval of reports that were submitted.
will make a motion to accept the reports that were submitted.
We have a motion to accept and approve the reports that were submitted. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. We're approving the reports submitted. Dropping down, program directors' reports. On slate for the first director is Carissa Millard from our tribal courts. Ms. Millard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Carissa Millard. I am the court clerk for the Quapaw Nation. Let me get everything kind of set. Here's kind of a brief history of what's happened since COVID has hit. Since March, Judge Stalfit has had 5 regular dockets with 1 emergency docket. Judge Hammonds has had 5 regular dockets. In March, April, and May, those dockets were not in person, but they were done by phone conference. Dockets are ranging right now from about 4 cases to 16 dockets. Judge Stalfit just had a docket this week, and he had 12 cases on there. And then his previous docket had 16. Right now, we are holding in-person dockets and dockets via telephone. The ones that are done by telephone are more of our guardianship reviews. Those that aren't having any trouble and everything's kind of going okay, instead of bringing everybody in for about 2 minutes, we go ahead and just do those by phone and just kind of go and give them a new docket date for the year out. Since January, there have been 47 new cases filed, but with COVID starting, most of those cases have been filed from March to present. So we've seen an increase of cases of protective orders, divorces, guardianships, and adoptions through that time. There have been 9 attorneys apply and been accepted to the Bar Association since January, so that is an increase. On October 1st, I've been asked to speak on a panel for the 10th Annual Tribal Healing to Wellness Court Virtual Enhancement Training. This was originally supposed to be out in San Diego, but due to COVID, everything has went online. I'll be talking on the block for the community coordination, planning, and implementing the Tribal Juvenile Willing to Wellness Court, because we are trying to implement that right now. For the juvenile grant, I've attended 3 Zoom conferences over the past few months. Because of COVID, they've started doing blocks and kind of setting them out for each month. So instead of having everything on that annual training, they've been doing different things, code development, how to implement throughout the past couple months through Zoom. Right now, because we've had some cases due to COVID, we've had to push to the side. We're re-looking at those cases, and we're going to be doing a cleanup docket with those, hopefully in November and December, to kind of look at those and get those either taken care of or push them out to another date. We will normally do a cleanup docket in January. When I say a cleanup docket, those are dockets that have been open for 2 or more years, and there's not been any activity in them. So normally we'll send out something that says, hey, there's not been any activity in your case. Do you want to dismiss it, or do you want to come back to court, make changes, or do you just want to leave it as is? I've been working with Trenton and his team on getting judgments completed and kind of figuring out how much those judgments are and how much are outstanding. So we're in the process of trying to get all of those judgments that have been ordered paid to his office. We also have, our office has now started a protective order list, and that protective order list gets sent out to the marshals every time it's updated, so they just have a copy of a list of what is active or not going to expire or going to be expiring. I also send the certified documents to their office just in case there's any incidences, so they have a copy of that. And that's also sent to the Miami Police Department as well, so they can put it in their system, so all different entities have a copy of that. We also have an active warrant list that's on the court's page on the website. We do have several outstanding bench warrants. We know that we would like to get them taken care of. We would like for someone to, rather than get arrested, we would prefer them to come in the office and kind of take care of that, and we would be able to work out some kind of agreement just to have them come to court, just so we could get that case taken care of. Like I said earlier, we are working on a juvenile healing wellness court. This was a grant we received in 2018. It is something that Sarah and I have been working on the past few years. There were several things that we had to do before we could get to where we are now. We had to complete a STRAC pack that was provided by the grant system, and then we also had to have several meetings, which we had a meeting in November with different parts of the Quapaw Nation departments, and then this summer I was able to meet with Quapaw School District and kind of say, hey, what are the biggest issues you guys deal with in school? A lot of the issues are drugs and alcohol, truancy, and vaping. Those are the major things that we're kind of seeing within the school system. With this grant, we're pretty fortunate. We kind of get to develop it the way that we feel best for our community. There are several tribal courts or juvenile courts that are throughout the United States. Not one is the same. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we can take from other tribes and we can see what works best for us. And if it doesn't work best for us, then we can completely get rid of it and say, let's move on. The biggest thing about the Juvenile Healing to Wellness Court is adding the cultural dynamic. We definitely want kids to know why pottery is important. We want them to know the history of the Quapaw Nation and why downstream is called downstream or why Saracen is called Saracen. We definitely feel that it's important that we take these aspects of the Quapaw tribe and implement them. When you look at a state juvenile court, they put them in detention centers. That's not something we want to do. We want kids to know that they have a place to go and they have a support system that's behind them 100% of the way. This is going to be a phased type program where there might be some cases that we might have to file a petition or a charge. But we want them to follow the phases throughout the juvenile court to graduate. Now, we may have a kid that's a first-time offender that it's really not as serious, so we're not going to be filing anything. We're going to take them aside and say, we want you to go into our program and we want you to complete these steps. We want you to shadow a department that you may want to go into when you graduate. You may not want to finish school, but we want you to get your GED. We want to work with the education department to show them that there's different avenues. And if they don't want to go to college, there's trade schools. There's different kind of alternatives that they can do. So by starting them in this program, we want them to kind of be in there for about 12 months. If there is a drug and alcohol abuse problem, we would do regular UAs. There would be a probation period. They would have to report to our office, but we also want parents to get involved and kind of understand, hey, we definitely want your child to thrive. We don't want them to end up in the adult system, because a lot of times when you see a child that's starting in the delinquent system, most of the time they do end up in the adult system. And that's really something that we want to stop. And we want to start with our kids in our community and do the best possible way that we can. And that's it. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions. One, you mentioned that we have some tribal members that have outstanding bench warrants. Yes?
Yes.
If they come and engage the court and try to clear that up, remedy that, will they be arrested?
They will not, no. What our hope is that they come in, and what we'll do, rather than taking a cash bond, because we know everybody's struggling with COVID, what we really want to do is we'll do an OR bond, which is a personal recognizance bond. That basically just says that on your own recognizance, you will show up to the court date that we have given you. We just want to get them on the dockets and get these matters taken care of. We've been able to reduce the list quite a bit. I want to say we probably have about 7 bench warrants right now that are just criminal cases, a couple civils, but those are a different situation. But those, we would prefer that you would come in to our office, talk to us. We'll do that OR bond, the judge will sign it, and we'll give you a court date for you to appear.
Thank you for that information. I know, if you have any friends or relatives that fall into this specific category, I would encourage everyone to clear that up. Nobody wants a bench warrant on their record any more than they want to go to the dentist. But you got to do it. It stays with you on your record. So in an effort to clear that up, yeah, thank you. And another comment on the juvenile code, as well as the wellness court program and all of the things you do with our grants and just what you've been able to do in such a short time over there. I want to commend you for your efforts. I've had conversations and you've given me the tour out there, and so far I like what I see, and I know that you and the Judge Douthit and Judge Hammond stay hooked up over there, and you guys are doing a great job for our people, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have housing, Mr. Tom Stell.
Tom Still from Housing Department. Nahasda, right now we're building one south of Columbus, a new home. Our next one will be in Miami. It'll be a new home on Morgan Hill. Elder housing, the older duplexes, they're all full, have been for a while. The triplexes, they're all full. We're still in maintenance as requested. We had 8 units September 1st open up, the new duplexes, and they're all full, all but 2, and they're 80 or handicapped for wheelchair. So we're holding them open. They're all full. We have 6 more getting ready to open up, and we've got 3 already paid their deposits, so they should be full time they're opened up. And just doing maintenance and building. Pretty much it. Any questions?
I just want to say thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson, IT.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Michael Richardson. So I'm going to start out with talking about environmentals project we got going on. They got some air monitor reading equipment that we're now remote reading. So what that means is it automatically reports back to our network, so they really don't have to go out to the sites and pull their readings off the sites. Also, we switched out about 28 copiers. Lakeland, we have a lease with them. They showed up with an army of people. They had 8 people to our 3, and they got so far ahead of us it wasn't even funny. So we finally got all those caught up. And the next big thing is our virtual desktop infrastructure that we talked about is now in place. We're getting ready to test it. It actually went a lot smoother than what I anticipated. So this following week, we'll be testing all that and rolling it out to users. That's all I got.
Can you speak a little more on the virtual desktop and how it's going to help our employees?
Yes, so what virtual desktop does is it allows us in IT to basically give them their office machine anywhere they have an internet connected device, whether that's a laptop, a phone, a tablet. It works on all spectrums. So they're able to access all their files, all their programs they have that they use daily in their office. So that means if we get sent home for COVID reasons or for any other reasons, the users can still operate their job from their house.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Keep up the good work. Mr. Trenton stand.
Good morning, Business Committee.
Morning.
Well, start out with kind of our standard stuff every month. We have landowners requests that range from just general land data reports that we have to pull from TAMs. We processed one gift deed and got a request for another, which the packet had been sent to that landowner as well this past month. Just general requests. We had a few people that inherited new land, new property through probate. We, took those calls, explained to them what documents are, what they're looking forward to going in the future with those different transactions that occur over their property. We completed 2 conservation easements. Those will be on EPA remediation sites after the fact. So there's either some hazardous material left on site, mine shaft, subsidence feature, and we need to identify those for future landowners, lessees on the track. So the conservation easement puts that on title. There's actually 2 to, one resolution today and one for you guys to sign being presented. But those then will allow future landowners to always be aware of what's out there. So you don't go out there and drill a well, try to build a home, or do some sort of restricted action over that site, which we're reducing through the remediation actions, the footprint of the chat bases and hazardous material to a lot smaller area. So we're cropping a lot more lands now that we couldn't use before, that are now being back in productivity. We've had a couple requests for transcripts of ownerships from landowners, and what that is just, how's this passed down from allotment? So we've compiled those, have yet to send one out. We have one ready. I haven't passed that on to the requester yet. We've had an issue with a chat payment and a purchaser. I filed this past month a litigation report for the Bureau. I've been pushing them to take action against the company. However, COVID's really, I'm learning how to keep the Bureau moving when they're not in the office. So I'm doing as much as I can for them.
Good luck with that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm doing as much as I can for them, and that's what that litigation is, something that they would usually draft for their solicitors to file charges against someone for collection. So that has been submitted. I've touched base with them a couple times since then. No action's been taken by the solicitor. So we spoke before, that 30 days has lapsed now. I'm going to be drafting and sending you guys for review, a formal request for action to start that appeal process against the Bureau. So.
Just as a reminder, can you touch base with me on that issue next week?
Yes, I will send it to you, my draft there to you guys, so you can pass it to whomever you'd like to review it before that goes over.
Thank you.
Town lots, that's our residential leases. That's part of Carissa's help with me collecting payment. That's a full-time job there. We have folks that don't want to pay, and then we have to go track them down. The court system's helped us tremendously, gave us some sort of teeth to go get some payments. So in the most part, everybody's doing fairly good in comparison to 5 years ago. It's a lot easier for us to get collections when people have to come to court. They don't want to do that in most cases. So we submitted one new town lot lease last month for approval. Have landowners' consent sent out for another, and taken one person to court last month and received a judgment on that. And that person has since paid her balance. We had one ag lease renewal, and the cattle company is currently negotiating another. These were prior to our annual lease bid sale, which we also prepared for in August. getting all our mailers out to potential lessees, posting in places where farmers will be and hang out and eat, cafes and convenience stores. So we actually just had the lease bid sale this past week and had a pretty good turnout, better than I anticipated given the tracks we had up and COVID and everything going on. So that turned out pretty good. We, get new blood in there, and it helps drive up those lease costs for landowners, because the regulation says you have to collect sealed bids for these, but that's kind of the bare minimum, because if you collect sealed bids, you only get one bid. That's really not that competitive. So we always open it up to the floor for an auction type situation afterwards. So you want to bid on it, come bid on it, and that usually works out fairly well. We submitted this past month our fencing program. We drafted the budget and the contract extension. So that comes out of Eastern Oklahoma region funding for that. Right now it's at a maintenance stage. We've done all the major fence construction. That's just restricting public access to hazardous sites for mining. So we're able to build our conservation easements. Landowners a lot of times want to identify the boundaries of those areas, shafts and things. So we're able to use that fencing money to fence around those sites, and then also fence the perimeters of the properties to restrict access. So right now that's just mostly a maintenance, except for the conservation easements. Then we add new fence there.
Real quick,
Go ahead.
Can that fencing be used for ag purposes?
I'm sorry?
Can that fencing be used for ag purposes?
There's some crossover. It's not, I can't go, outside OU4, the Superfund, our Superfund area for surface chat, and go, we need a new fence out here and put it on ag land. I have to be able to identify, especially now since we're outside the scope of the build of the project, any new construction outside of which the subsidence features are within the old. So, but any new build, I have to get approval through the agency, just so when we have our annual set down that they go through our stuff and try to ding us up for not using it correctly. I tried actually and still am. We're having issues with trespass a little bit on the old quarry north of the administration office, four-wheelers and stuff, and there's adjacent property owners complaining as well. So like, well, quarry is a mining activity, so am I going to be able to use that? But they're having issues with operable Unit 4 boundary. I'm kind of arguing with them right now because there's not a definite legal description for that, but there is an area defined by EPA, and it's on the outside of that boundary. So I'm still kind of trying to work that out for them, but that's an instance where we were trying to use it somewhere else, and it's kind of touchy. But if it's mining related, yes, I can. But so there may be some ag leases within mining related properties. I've received a couple fee requests that'll be presented to you guys for tribal fee land, agriculture leasing. It's land over in Pitcher, not being utilized right now. That will be presented. Recently just received a right-of-way offer for the tribal fee land that's at the intersection of Steve Owens and call it Mushroom or Industrial Parkway, right there by the Quapaw Casino sign. There's that pie piece, and they're looking to extend and widen the road. I have that information, but they were also supposed to provide me more as to whether that sign is included or not, and they haven't got that back to me. But I do have that offer to present to you guys as well. That is my highlights for the month. Do you have any questions for me?
Back to the signage. Are they still wanting to take the side with the sign? Have they completely, the opposite side, have they disregarded it now? Are they still pursuing where the sign's at?
Yes.
They are? Okay.
Yeah, it was right up, from what they showed me, it was right up close to it. This was the first time I had seen it or heard about this project in a long time. Somebody else was handling communications with them. I started early on with when they were doing their environmental assessment of the site, the road and things, but I hadn't heard any more. So they kind of showed up one day and I'm like, okay, well, they had an offer, but they didn't know themselves if the sign was in or out. So that was obviously going to change their amount they was going to pay. But when I have that, you guys will receive it as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trenton.
You're welcome.
Next, for Director's Report, we have Mandy Dement, Family Services.
Hi, I'm Mandy Dement. I'm the Director of Family Services, and primarily I just want to explain to you guys what our department is and what our services are that we provide. I primarily deal with our deprived cases, and that means these are cases where children have been legally declared abused or neglected by the court system, and they're in the custody of either the state or the tribe. Right now there are 19 of those cases and 3 that I'm getting ready to have entry of appearances and motion to intervene filed, which that means that the tribe is legally involved and we have legally intervened in the case, so we have a right to participate. I also license foster homes. We have 5 of those. I really would like to obtain some more, but right now currently we only have 5, and they are actually pretty full because I also allow the state to utilize our foster homes sometimes when they're empty. So, I mean, it's for tribal children. If the state has a tribal child that's not Quapaw, I will let them utilize our foster homes if they're empty or vacant, so that the Indian child has an Indian foster home to go to. So a new program we have in our department is a supervised visitation grant, and the worker for that is Stacy Holcomb. We supervise visitations between parents and children, but they have to meet certain criteria. The children have to be a victim of a crime to be able to have the supervised visits with their parents, or the children have to be in custody of the state or the tribe, which means they're declared deprived, and they've been given court-ordered supervised visits with their parents. So we can supervise those, and those visits are recorded, and there's a report written about that visit, and the worker, Stacy, can report in court if she's asked to over what the visits looked like. Carissa Sumner is a new employee of ours. She works with with sexual assault, domestic violence clients and victims of crime, and she currently has 13 clients. Linda Davis is our domestic violence advocate, and she has 31 clients. Billy Bertram is our youth program worker, and she does our youth suicide prevention. She does things with the youth like pottery and cultural activities, and she also does parenting classes, which are virtual right now. And then we have Susan Holland, who does our general assistance and direct employment programs, and she's also our department assistant. And then we have Charlene Brewster, who is our receptionist. And any questions?
Have you had any application put in for anybody that's looking to help with the foster home issue?
Not recently, no. Usually, normally, before COVID hit, we do foster care recruitment fairs, or we try to recruit foster parents, but since all that's kind of come to a halt right now, I haven't been able to do that. So hopefully after the first of the year, there'll be more opportunities for me to try to recruit foster parents.
What kind of financial benefit would come along with opening your home up to foster children?
There's a monthly stipend, and that depends on the age of the child. It averages about $400 and something a month to reimburse you for the cost that you incur by taking on a child.
Do we have any Quapaw children waiting to be for foster care?
Do we have any,
Do we have any Quapaw children that are trying to get into a foster home?
no,
Okay.
not to my knowledge.
Well, just to broadcast this out there for any of you that are kind-hearted and willing to take children into your home, there are those out there in need.
Mandy, I know you have an incredibly challenging job, in that area specifically. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your staff as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next on Director's Report, Mr. Tim Kent, Environmental.
Good morning. I think you have my report, so I'll just sort of hit the highlights. As you probably know, we've got a Superfund site, and that's sort of our biggest concentration right now. Just some background. In 2014, we took over the cleanup of the Catholic 40 site, which is where the old mission school was. We did it under budget and under the time frame. So EPA decided to go ahead and give us the entire cleanup of the Superfund site, which, we're the first tribe in the nation to ever take over the cleanup of a Superfund site. So, probably a year or so after that, Oklahoma, EPA gave us the authority to clean up all the tribal properties in the Superfund site. Then the state of Oklahoma saw what kind of job we were doing, so they decided to give us all the their cleanup on fee land or private property. So as of now, we've got the entire cleanup of the Superfund site. Then in 2018, EPA came out with there was a Superfund task force that the EPA administrator initiated to look at all the Superfund sites across the nation to see which ones really had to prioritize which sites were in need of immediate and large amounts of funding to clean up. And Tar Creek got in the top 10. So they issued a report in 2018, which was the strategic plan for Tar Creek. And the summary was that they committed to providing at least $15 million a year for the next 5 years for cleanup at Tar Creek. So, and all that money's coming to the tribe for cleanup. So, as a matter of fact, in the last fiscal year, we received $20 million for cleanup on tribal land, and then an additional $4 million for cleanup on fee land from the state. So that's a total of $24 million this fiscal year. So, that ends at the end of this month. So, but that money is going to keep us busy for at least the next couple of years, and we'll continue to get funding as time goes by. So, we're excited to get those projects started and projects ongoing. Of course, if the government gives you $24 million, they expect a lot of paperwork. So we're trying to keep that going, the monitoring, the reporting. So it's quite a job, and I've got a good staff to help me out, so it's good. Most of the rest of the stuff's in my report, but there are a few issues that have come up, and I think, Chairman, I sort of went over those briefly with you and Mr. Barker, but right now there's the Superfund's separated out into operable units. Operable unit 4, OU4, is all the chat. That's what we're cleaning up now, but right now they're deciding how we're going to clean up the rivers and the sediment in the rivers. So they're doing what they call a remedial investigation. In the end of that remedial investigation, we're going to have to figure out, they're going to want some input from the tribe on what cleanup levels we feel is acceptable to be protective of tribal uses. So I'm going to need probably business committee input on that, along with the other issue is a chat repository. We're taking all the chat from these cleanup areas and we're putting them in a chat repository. It's basically a chat landfill where the old central mill was, well, the old central mill tailings pond. But what EPA would like to do is expand to the west to where the old central mill pile was, and that's land that the tribe owns in fee. So the EPA would like to lease that land from the tribe to expand the chat repository to the west. You know, and I've got a draft lease that was actually a copy of the lease that they leased from the landowner that's currently the current landowner for where the current repository is. But I need to probably submit that to you all to see what an acceptable lease is. You know, and like I believe we talked about this, it would probably be contingent on the design of the repository. Right now we're reviewing the engineering portions of the design to see if it's going to be acceptable. And then, you know, my sort of, right now my plan is to just tell EPA that once we approve that design, then we'll talk about a lease. I guess what I invite you all, if you have time, maybe come out and I'll take you on a tour, show you what we've been doing, what QSA's have been doing, show you the repository, and sort of maybe give you some background and talk about some of the choices that the decisions that are coming up that EPA is kind of pressuring me to come up with. And you know, if I can just show you all what we're doing and kind of give you a little bit of the science on what EPA is expecting from us as decision points, then you know, we can maybe get together and decide what those cleanup decisions will be. But you know, we can set that up whenever you want. The other thing is also, you know, we've been EPA grants us money for the cleanup, but we don't have to bid that. They don't have to bid that out. They just grant us the money directly. And we came up with some unit prices back in 2014, but they want us to update those. So I'll probably need business committee input on the new unit prices. Obviously, since 2014, those unit prices have gone up. But we're going to have to justify whatever those unit prices are. And I can kind of go over that. Once we come up with some new unit prices, I'll run that by you all to make sure that, you know, it sounds reasonable to you, and then we'll go to EPA with it. The other thing, I got a call yesterday. Ken Wagner, who's the Secretary of Environment, he reports directly to the governor. He would like to come and meet you, Chairman Byrd, and he was asking me if you were taking like in-person meetings or whether you wanted to do it virtually, or he just didn't know. So
Depends on his intentions.
yeah. Right. Yeah, I think he just wants to meet you. You know, it's the new agreement. We have an agreement with Oklahoma on you know, cleaning up non-tribal properties. They get a grant from EPA, and then they give the money to us to do the cleanup with ODEQ oversight. And that agreement is due to be renewed, so he may just want to talk about that and, what they're doing and what they're going to do.
If we weren't the ones cleaning it up, where would they dispose of their unmarketable product?
If it weren't going to the repository,
Yeah.
well, they'd have to find another place for it, or, you can inject it back down into the mines, which is an approved method, but it costs a lot more money to inject back down into the mines. But that is an option under the record of decision. But, the reason, if Oklahoma wanted to conduct cleanup, they would have to go out and bid the project out to a contractor, and it would be under their procurement process. But since we have a government-to-government agreement, they can just give us the money directly. So it's worked out really well. We work really well with ODEQ, so it's been a good relationship. So hopefully that can continue.
I appreciate the remarks and everything you've been doing up until this point. I encourage, not just in this regard, but anyone else that wants to meet with me. I try to make myself available to anyone and everyone. That's part of this position. I knew that coming in, so I serve, proudly on behalf of the people of Quapaw people. So anything we can do to make that meeting happen,
Okay.
I'm happy to meet.
Would you be okay with meeting face-to-face, or?
That's fine.
Is it, okay.
Yeah, I'll meet face-to-face, Zoom,
Yeah, okay.
send me a smoke signal,
Okay, okay.
whatever.
All right.
Whatever. I
Sounds-
make myself available. So,
Okay, I'll pass that word along, and I'll try to coordinate that and see if we can come up with some dates.
Yeah, great.
Other than that, of course, we've got other programs. We've got a pretty extensive air monitoring program. We probably have, except for the Cherokees, we probably have the most extensive air monitoring program in the state. So, we operate 2 or 3 pretty sophisticated monitoring sites. And we're doing a lot of water. We do monthly water monitoring for 3 watersheds on the reservation. That's through a EPA Clean Water Act 106 program. We're continuing all of our solid waste collection. We've got solid waste, repository sites in Pitcher, and we've got a large recycling program. So we're busy. I might just mention, since we've started in 2014, we've cleaned up 4 million tons of chat, and that has actually brought over 500 acres of land back into agricultural use. A large portion, by the way, has been on tribal lands, which our ag department has been able to raise cattle, raise crops on those properties, so it's brought immediately back into use. So there's a lot of progress going on.
It's pretty incredible what we've seen and, been reading and catching up on, just to see the progress that's been made and the productivity that comes not just from your department, but QSA, as well as the land, realty, everybody working in unison to, it's come a long way since 2014. So thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Boone, the money man.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric Boone, the CFO for the tribe. I'm just going to report on the general fund today. For August, we had revenue of $1.5 million. Bringing the total for the year to date to $26.3 million. Actual expenses for August was $2.2 million, bringing our total to the year for the year to $26.3 million. So it's a pretty balanced budget. To this point, we've got one more month to go, and we'll be wrapping that up here in a few weeks. The tribal member health benefit, our August expenses were $417,000, bringing our total year-to-date to $5.67 million. Our social services program, our August expenses were $301,000, bringing our total for the year to $2.2 million. And our education benefits that went out to students for August, expenses were $190,000, bringing our total year-to-date to $860,000. Our tribal enterprises year-to-date have contributed $5.75 million to our general fund budget or revenue, and we'll have one more distribution coming here in the next 2 weeks before we wrap up the fiscal year. I have submitted a proposed budget for fiscal year 21 to the business committee. We have started discussions on that this week. We still have some of it to go through, and I just wanted them to have the opportunity to kind of look over those reports and absorb what's there, come up with their questions, send them back to me, and we can get some questions answered and get that done. We will have a balanced budget for fiscal year 21 as well. So, any other questions?
Eric, can you bring the folks up to date on how much the exact amount was for our first COVID relief? I know I may be putting you on the spot, but just round up.
Yep. I'll give you the rough numbers.
But also some of the process that went into that, your staff, your personnel, lessons learned.
Okay. Yeah, so, as you guys know, we had a COVID relief payment benefit that started in June, that was announced in June. Leading up to that, the tribe did receive COVID funds. There was, about every 2 weeks, there was new guidance released. That guidance was not 100% clear, so we were taking each new set of guidelines and reviewing it, trying to come up with the program that we feel meets those guidelines to make it that those funds eligible to be released to tribal members to help during this time of COVID. So as you know, we did that in June as a general welfare assistance program. We ended up with about 4,700 checks being distributed, totaling to just under $4 million. Those applications were submitted by mail and also email. And that process, starts with enrollment because we have to verify applications. We have to verify eligibility because new members that are over 1 year of age have a 1-year waiting period for tribal member benefits. So there was some confusion on that. I received many, many, many calls. And so anyway, that process has to run through enrollment first, verify eligibility of each member. Then each member had to be input into our payables system for the check to be cut. Then we had to request that check to be cut, and then it was printed and mailed out. So in the beginning, whenever there's a benefit and an application involved, there's a huge influx of applications. So literally we had piles this high in enrollment waiting to be verified. So the process in the beginning, because of that volume, it was taking us up to 15 business days to get those through that entire process. And as we went along, by the end of July, we had caught up to basically everything that came in that day. we were able to get through the process, and it was going out in the mail the next day. So, but that huge influx in the beginning, caused some delay. We don't allow, we have one person in enrollment that's using an enrollment system. That's the only person that has access to that. That information in that system is confidential, and we don't want to have 15 people to have access to that information. So we've got one person. We're doing the best we can to move this stuff along. Believe me, we want to get these checks through and out to you as quickly as possible because we have our regular work and stuff to do too. So anyway, that benefit ended August 15th, as you guys are aware. And we learned a lot as far as communication with tribal members. The process is as far as getting that verification done quickly, limiting the amount of phone calls coming in and disrupting that process, So we're trying to be as, to communicate with our tribal members as they call in. We want to answer the questions, we really do. And I think we've done a good job of doing that the best we can with the limited staff that we have working on this. So I thank you for your patience. I hope that we were able to answer your questions, or if you guys were some of the ones that called in. That's it. Is that enough?
It's good.
Okay.
I have one thing to comment on. The mailing address.
Yes.
Just for clarification for anybody that would be filling out any forms in the future, just to keep that in mind, that if you're sending in an application for a relief check, we got to know where to send it to.
Yeah, when we ask for your address, we're asking for a mailing address, and that would be something that we would make more clear in the future. I got a lot of physical addresses, but then they didn't receive the check because there was no receptacle at their house. And then they call in, oh, well, I have a P.O. box. So then we have to reissue, or if that check came back, we would just send it right back out to the P.O. box. So, stuff like that, city, state, and zip is a pretty important piece of your address, but we got a lot of just the street address with no city, state, and zip. So then that delays. We got to make phone calls, see if we have any other documentation with a matching address to pull that information. So completeness of the application is important. So anything else? Betty?
Thank you.
Okay, so the answer to that is the guidelines that we were presented, it did not say directly that we could make direct payments to tribal members across the board, okay? And that is why the resolution was passed as a general welfare assistance program specifically for the COVID funds. And our general welfare assistance program says there's a 1-year waiting period for tribal member benefits. So that was done specifically that way to meet the guidelines. The other thing it does is it makes it a non-taxable contribution to you as the tribal member. So, okay. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Moving down the director's reports, Ms. Barbara Collier from our own Quapaw Nation Gaming Agency. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, everybody. There's been lots of questions and concerns and actions and comments made concerning the work that our department's been doing in the last month and a half. So I prepared a statement I'd like to read to you, if you'll allow, that explains more or less what we've been doing. As you all know, I serve as the director of the Quapaw Nation Gaming Agency, which was created to regulate the gaming activities and facilities of the Quapaw Nation. Our mission is to provide civil regulatory oversight and enforcement of all laws applicable to Quapaw Nation gaming. I personally take this responsibility very seriously because, in plain language, it's my job and the job of my staff to protect the interests of the Quapaw Nation. This is not an easy job because we can't just make an accusation or bring an enforcement action simply because we suspect that something has happened or gone wrong. We have to be able to prove it, and we do that through audits and investigations. It's important to understand, however, that accusations are easy to make, so there are systems and processes in place to make sure that all licensees are treated fairly. If the QNGA revokes a gaming license, we have to report that to the National Indian Gaming Commission, which is a federal agency. The name of the person is put in a federal database, and that person may never again be able to get a job in a tribal casino, and it may affect their employability outside the gaming area as well. It's serious. It involves people's lives, their reputations, their ability to make a living. And because it's serious, it is our duty to verify the facts through audits and investigations before we take action to revoke a person's gaming license or make a criminal referral. At the QNGA, it is our duty to determine facts and take appropriate action in accordance with Quapaw law. In doing this, we must comply with principles of fundamental fairness and due process of law. In other words, everyone gets the benefit of the doubt until the facts are established and appropriate action taken. So until we have completed the audits and/or investigations, we must exercise restraint in discussing such matters until the process has worked its way to conclusion. I know that Quapaw people look to the QNGA to safeguard the integrity of the nation's gaming activities and the security of its assets. I and the people in my office work hard to do and fulfill our regulatory responsibilities. But we have a duty to first assemble the facts so when we do go public with our findings and actions, you can be confident that we did our job responsibly. What I can tell you is that the QNGA conducts investigations and performs audits both routinely and whenever questions arise, prompting us to take a closer look. You can always count on that.
Barbara, I appreciate your remarks this morning. And, I know that you, along with everyone in your agency, really do a phenomenal job with keeping us up to date with regulatory, everything on the regulatory realm. So thank you for your service and your dedication to not just downstream, but all of our casinos and our people, because ultimately we know that that's what that's intended for. All of our gaming revenues are supposed to go back to our people for services, for programs, youth, elder, all of that. So yes. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And just a side note, we will, moving forward, like to have you as a regular report. I think it's vital to have, a gaming from the regulatory side, somebody giving a report monthly, because it would make me feel more comfortable. Transparency, in an effort of transparency, all of that moving forward. We'd like to have you every month.
We would be glad to.
Thank you. All right. Appreciate all of the reports from the directors, making themselves available to not only the business committee this morning, but also anyone that may have questions in the audience. Dropping down to old business. Yeah, there was a couple of resolutions in the last month's meeting, and one of those resolutions were just, we say eliminated? Okay, we'll say it was replaced as it was incorrectly presented on the agenda, and that is a resolution authorizing a supplemental payment to an individual out of the Quapaw trust litigation to correct an error resulting from an incorrect name in federal and tribal records. And what we did with that is to resolve that issue, as well as any other potential issues. And what I'm talking about is the Good Eagle trust litigation specifically. What we did with that is we presented an alternative resolution that authorized the retention of a special counsel to investigate the distribution of the Good Eagle funds to individual Quapaw tribal members who were plaintiffs in the Good Eagle settlement, and accounting and distribution of money received by the Quapaw Nation for the Quapaw tribal members pursuant to the Good Eagle settlement. And so we had a motion and it was seconded, and then we had further discussion, but the motion passed unanimously. And so what we're doing now is we are still in the bidding process, and we hope to have, resolution to that and be able to go with our third-party audit to make sure we have a proper recording, not just of the money that's sitting there now, but also the processes, the procedures that were followed for the distribution that occurred. And so I just wanted to give you an update on that, as it is on the old business agenda item for today. And
Flossie, yes.
so Flossie just posed the question to us. She has relatives that are living in Oklahoma City, relatives that were living in Oklahoma City that received a different amount of distribution than relatives that are living here locally, and in Texas, and by all accounts, they should have received the same amount of money. And so because of discrepancies such as the type that Flossie has mentioned today, and because there are other potential discrepancies as well, we feel like we are doing our due diligence and being prudent about our fiduciary responsibilities to each and every tribal member to have an accurate accounting of exactly how those monies were distributed. That way, we can go forward with the distribution of the remaining monies in the fund. Does that answer your question? Okay. Thank you for that question. I'm being told that no action is needed for the old business, but I just wanted to make that update and available to you all. Dropping down to new business, we have Environmental and Realty Department, and this is for a flooring completion bid and purchase approval. So this is materials and labor to complete the flooring for hallways and reception area over the painted concrete in the Environmental Realty building. The flooring was not completed at the time the building was built, and they just need some added paint, vinyl flooring, and it's going to be easier to keep clean in the future.
I will make a motion to accept the bid that they recommended due to quality.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Question.
Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The purchase is approved. Moving down to Title VI, Meals on Wheels Food Delivery Vehicle Bid and Purchase Approval. So under this purchase, the Title VI has been awarded CARES Act special funding that may be used to purchase a Meals on Wheels food delivery vehicle to support the Title VI Elders Food Program. This purchase will aid in creating food stability among homebound elders in the service area. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion as well as a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the purchase is approved. Next, we have the Marshalls. It's a replacement trailer bid and purchase approval.
I will make the motion.
Yes, this is a replacement trailer for a motorcycle unit, enclosed trailer, and it's 100% grant funded.
I will make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second.
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Approved. Dropping down to the O-Guah-Pah Learning Center, the Lakeshore purchase approval. This is a 2020 Chrysler Pacifica minivan and is a CCDF program support vehicle. And this was a line item that was budgeted in the 2019 funds. And do I have a motion on the floor?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion
Second.
as well as a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Approved for the O-Guah-Pah Learning Center minivan.
What's this one?
The detention agreement for juveniles. This is a yearly renewal.
Mr. Chairman, I move to agreement to extend the agreement with the Sac and Fox Nation for the juveniles.
We have a motion to extend the yearly renewal. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? yearly renewal is approved. Just for clarification, if you look at the agenda, there are two O-Guah-Pah Learning Center line requests. One, I'm going to ask for the record that this be stricken, the Lakeshore purchase approval. And the one for clarification that we voted on and approved was for the Chrysler bid and purchase approval for our records. Do we want to strike that or table that? Okay. I have a motion that we table that.
I will make a motion to table that.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We have an approval to table the motion for approval. And dropping down, the subcommittee handbook approval, just as a, so we know, I want to just put this in context for everyone in the audience today. One of the duties and responsibilities of chairman is to appoint committees as well as subcommittees, aside from the ones that the general counsel elects every year while we're in session. Moving forward, instead of it just being at the chairman's discretion, I've requested and I've asked the rest of the BC for their buy-in, their weigh-in on who we want serving in these committees. And I want to make a plug for all of the friends and relatives that are here, as well as those watching at home. If you feel that you would like to contribute and bring something to the table to push our nation forward and help out in any way, I strongly encourage and recommend anyone that is interested in serving on any of these committees to reach out, contact us, and we're actually going to be selecting all of those serving in our next month's meeting. I wanted to give it the time as well as be able to review all of those committees. And so we have a handbook that our executive secretary has put together for the selection process, as well as some of the duties and responsibilities of those positions. And we've been requested to approve the handbook. However, there are a few revisions that I would like to see done. I see some things that I would like to have more input, again, from the rest of the business committee, and have ample time for the rest of the business committee to review the document before we actually approve that. So I would entertain a motion to table the item until next month's regularly scheduled business committee meeting.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is tabled. Heather, do we have those resolutions? Do you have those?
Yes, Flossie. Yes, absolutely.
It's not approved. Yeah. I think that that's just totally inappropriate for the position. Heather's.
Okay. Now that we got some clarity up here, appreciate that. Next agenda item is a resolution. Mr. Barker, could you read that for us, please?
So this is a resolution authorizing a program to provide for direct payments to qualifying enrolled members of the Quapaw Nation from federal funds received under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. In order to clarify that title, we are looking at a second distribution of CARES Act money to tribal members. And it will be in the sum, and as the payment had paid out, we've decided to change the dollar amounts to elders and individuals of the age of 65 and over will be receiving $2,000. Tribal members over the age of 18 will be receiving $1,500. And tribal members under the age of 18 will be receiving $750. I'm sorry. Yes, we've budgeted for, in the event that every single tribal member decides to apply for that, and then it also leaves over, or will leave over at least over $2 million for us to work with for other emergency purposes. We do have another, or a couple of other things that we do need to address, but we believe that this being said, the application period will open up, it'll close, and we believe that we can have distribution money put out before Thanksgiving. That way, individuals will be able to receive help with bills, groceries, going into holidays, and so that they can make sure that they're spending time with their families the way that they should. Yes, Flossie. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt Resolution 091920A.
We have a motion to adopt the resolution in regards to the second distribution of the COVID relief funds to all citizens of the Quapaw tribe, nation. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The resolution is approved. Woo! We have a resolution authorizing the use of trust and restricted land located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation for farming and grazing, and to authorize the execution of the lease on behalf of the Quapaw Nation.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a second. All
Question.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The resolution is approved. We have another resolution authorizing the purchase of restricted interest in land, surface only, located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation, and authorizing the chairperson or an authorized representative to execute the purchase on behalf of the Quapaw Nation.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion.
We have a second as well. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The resolution is approved. Resolution 091920D, a resolution authorizing the purchase of restricted interest in land located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation and authorizing the chairperson or an authorized representative to execute the purchase on behalf of the Quapaw Nation.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion as well as a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The resolution is approved. So up next, we have Resolution 091920E, and this is the Quapaw Nation Juvenile Code. And, you know, I've had several different goes at reviewing this, and I think for the most part, it's a great start. And, you know, again, with Judge Douthat and Judge Hammonds, as well as our own clerk, Carissa, and everyone at the tribal court, you know, they do a phenomenal job over there. And I'm happy to entertain a motion to approve this.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Our juvenile code is officially approved. And thank you.
Good job, Carissa.
Mr. Barker, can you take that next resolution?
I haven't got that resolution. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would move to adopt resolution 091920F to appoint a special prosecutor on behalf of the Quapaw Nation.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Approved. 091920F. Dropping down, would anybody like to take that?
Mr. Chairman, I would request a reading of that resolution.
This is a resolution dissolving the membership of the Downstream Development Authority and replacing the authority's membership with the Quapaw Nation Business Committee. It is the Business Committee's mandate that in an effort of transparency that a shielded committee over any of our gaming enterprises with any sort of privacy is not in the best interest of our tribal nation. As a result, any and all compensation that would be paid to business committees that would be sitting on or over any of our gaming agencies will be made public to any and all tribal members. It would also be able to be challenged by general counsel as it always should have been. But
I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The resolution 091920G dissolving the membership of the Downstream Development Authority and replacing the authority's membership with the Quapaw Nation Business Committee is so approved. Allie, you mind taking that next one, please?
The resolution resolution authorizing a right-of-way on trust land located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation for the use of the conservation easement, and to authorize the execution of the easement on the behalf of the Quapaw Nation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The resolution passes. I'm sorry. Northwest quarter of Section 19, Township 29,
He's read the legal description.
North, Range 23, east of the Indian Base in Meridian, Ottawa.
Yeah, she's wanting to know, well, we gave her the legal description.
Yeah,
so
that.
You give
so
her the English.
The conservation easement is for, there's a couple that's being presented today. It's west of Pitcher on the next mile section over from the school. There's two properties right across the road from each other. Both had multiple sites. So this one covers the tribe's interest in the Tongahaw Beaver allotment west of Pitcher.
And as clarification, that easement provides people future information that.
Yes, correct. So what that is doing is allowing us to identify future potential hazardous areas that remained after cleanup. So things that couldn't be addressed economically by the cost of the cleanup of the site. So there's a mine shaft out there. Yeah, they can do, I mean, there's the Corps of, the Army Corps of Engineers capped some and filled in some years ago. There's the chance, and some of them have subsided again. So at least they're identified now. We know where they are. In a lot of cases, depending on the type of shaft or subsidence feature, those are then fenced, like I talked about earlier in my report with the fencing funds. So that's what this is for.
You introduced, I'll second.
Thank you.
You introduced, I'll second.
Dropping down, Callie, can you take the, no, I guess it'd be a motion to amend. However you want to do it.
I want to make a motion to put Joseph Bird, Mitch Albright, and Sean Henderson, designating them as the Quapaw Nation's representation to the Intertribal Buffalo Council as resolution number 091920-I.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. Dropping down to donations and sponsorships. Sorry, jumping ahead here.
I'd like to make a motion in order to approve the job description for our meat processing manager position, to open it up for employment.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
We'll refer to that.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion passes. Now dropping down to donations and sponsorships. We have Michael Truster. Is Mr. Truster in the audience today? I made an announcement. I don't know if everyone received that information as of last business committee meeting, but anyone making a donation or a special request, I'd really like to see them in person, as I'm sure we all would. We like to know, we like to associate who we give money to with the face that's requesting it. That being said, this is for a home repair, and the individual is a Quapaw tribal member. But at this moment, there seems to be a lack of information, just backup that would help us make this determination at this moment.
You gonna do it, Kelly?
And for this reason, this is why we would like to see folks in person. So,
I'd like
yeah.
to make a motion to table.
Make a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The request is tabled. Second donation request is from a Cooper Elmer. Is Mr. Elmer in the audience? Mr. Elmer, step on up. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So, please introduce yourself and tell us about your request.
I'm Cooper. I'm asking $500 for the Kansas State shooting. I go up to Wichita for the state skeet shooting competition.
How long have you been on the team, or how long have you been shooting?
I've been shooting for 9 years, and I've been on the team for 9 years.
Won any awards or any special distinguishments?
No, just going to state for the past 4 years.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. You know, I'm always encouraging youth and how they represent us at these types of things. And when will the meet be? When will the meet be? October?
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second.
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Elmer's request is approved. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, dropping down to open forum. I see a lot of folks in the audience, and I think that is awesome and wonderful. And before we get going on the open forum, I would request that any speakers that come up to the podium to please state your name for the record. And before we get to that, I'd like to make a statement. Since taking the oath of office of chairman, I, along with other members of the business committee, have taken a focused look at every business entity of our nation. We've met with tribal directors in every department. We've met and consulted on a government-to-government basis with various federal agencies. We've attended meetings in hopes of mending our relationship with neighboring tribes of the Intertribal Council. We've attended morning safety meetings with QSA. We're on the verge of finalizing our budget for this next fiscal year. We've helped put our relatives away, to which we're still in mourning. I've met a lot of good employees that do fantastic work for our nation and genuinely care about our people. We've learned things about our nation in the last 50 days that have humbled me, and it makes me proud to be O-gah-pah. We've also learned things about our nation that it's embarrassing to me and makes me sick to my stomach. I, along with Guy Barker, promised transparency during our campaign. And today, every member that you see sitting before you on the business committee, we're working hard to bring that promise to fruition. As the forensic audit of the downstream winds down, there are specific things we are not at liberty to discuss. But rest assured, a full report will be available next month at General Council. And your questions and your concerns will be answered in due time. I can tell you that the compensation of the Downstream Development Authority has been restored to what was originally approved by the Business Committee in 2009. I can also tell you that last month, Downstream experienced a cost savings of over $800,000 by just eliminating 4 people from the payroll. The Business Committee looks forward to providing you with detailed information at our meeting next month, and we appreciate your continued patience. Uga'xpa. Before we move any further into open forum, I would like to recognize a dignitary that's in the room, our own tribal princess, Crystal Glass. Miss Glass, would you like to address us? Do you have anything you'd like to say? Well, we appreciate you being in attendance and doing a good job of representing us. Thank you. Okay, the floor is open.
I'm Tootie Phyllis Romick Carrick, and I don't know if I just need to turn this in to you all or it's from my son. It's for an emergency financial assistance. He was unable to come due to an accident, severe accident he had in July. But it's requesting reimbursement for a wheelchair with an elevating leg that he has to have to keep his left foot elevated at all times. And for the ramp, the cement ramp to bring his, the one step up to his porch so he can get into his house, to make a ramp there. We were unaware of this program when he was in the hospital. His accident was July the 15th. He came home on July the 22nd. The ramp had to be in place for him to get into the house. Otherwise, I'd had to have the firemen do it. And I mean, we've had to do other improvements too, but we couldn't find the receipts for those. And so he's requesting, it's a total of $456.85 to cover the cost of the wheelchair and of the ramp. And so I didn't know if I needed to, address this now or turn it in and then get the answer next meeting.
If you could leave the request with us, we'll make sure it gets to the appropriate people. And
okay.
Yeah.
All right, super. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Florence Flossie Matthews, and I just have 3 questions. Next time at our meeting, I would really like to have the minutes for our business committee members so I could have read them. And my next one is, I had a tribal member call me, and they said their son was without a job, and he was trying to get a job, and seemed like he was having no luck. So I don't know how you guys are addressing that problem or not. So, and then if we were having general council, I really am going to miss having a program So my suggestion is that, because I had my pictures all ready to be done for the powwow, and we didn't get to have that. And I'd be still wanting to pay for my pages that I put in the program book. But if we could get Anna to go ahead and do that, because I think she was really all set up to do that. And but that's it.
On your last question, we've met with Anna, and we really just kind of finalized the date, and we're still ironing out the details of how we want to proceed with that. And we're supposed to speak with Mike later on today, and so I don't think there'll be a problem with that. I believe she's already has something prepared and in the works.
So I can just go to her Monday and give her my picture and pay my bill.
Yes.
Gonna gay.
Gonna gay. And then to your second question about the tribal member looking for employment, maybe reaching out to us. Any tribal member, that is looking for employment, I would encourage them to go through the channels of human resources on the tribal side, and then with any of our casino or our other business entities, contact Johnny Rogers so he can put them in the appropriate department to talk to.
Because he'd even applied or tried to apply at Saracen. So, he's tried here and tried there. And so when you're without a job, you need that money, And, but I want the minutes for us the next time at the door for all of our members.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The minutes are at the door. There's 2 piles.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie. HRdirector.com. Oh, sorry. HR Director at Quapaw Nation. HR at QuapawNation.com. Glad we got that clarified. Yes, Ms. Good Eagle.
Hooray, hooray.
Hey.
My name is Grace Good Eagle, and I just wanted to say that our elders, we're taking care of one another, trying to be safe, realizing we have not been able to get together as a subcommittee, and realizing too, we're ending the end of the year, but so for 2020, a trip is pretty much out of the question. And also in May, I had requested at that time a date in December if we could have a dinner. And that's still in question, whether we'll be able to have a dinner. In addition, in May, we were also wanting to be sure that Rhonda and the others with the Title VI program are thanked, because our meals have been just wonderful since this all started with the virus in March. They've got such a system over there, and the meals have really been good. And so if there was some kind of a special thanks for them, that would be good. So, gonna gay.
Gonna gay. Gracie, we appreciate your remarks. And, as a representative of the Elders Committee, we look forward to doing something for the elders. We know that a few folks were discouraged by not having the annual trip, but we also understand that safety is also a very important thing to take note of. So we definitely want to provide you with something for the end of the year, and we look forward tentatively. Oh, it's booked. December 12th, there is going to be a dinner. There we go.
Mr. Chairman, good morning. My name's Jim Adams, and I come this morning on behalf of the Horses of Hope Riding Center in Baxter Springs, Kansas. I had sent you, Mr. Barker and Callie, an email about sponsorship for this event. I know you have been ridiculously busy in the last 51 days, but Horses of Hope Riding Center is an equestrian equine therapy center in Baxter Springs in Buffalo, Missouri that serves over 100 riders a week. And those riders are folks with mental and physical disabilities, soldiers returning home with post-traumatic stress syndrome, and it is an unbelievable opportunity for equine therapy, and it's here in Baxter. Every year, we're on our third Horses of Hope Gala that we host out here at the Downstream Pavilion. Through social distancing this year, we've only been allowed to have 35 tables, but that's 350 guests, and it's a great revenue stream for not only the Quapaw Nation and Downstream, but it's a great event that we raised. Last year we raised $75,000. I have personally invited each one of you through email. I'm not sure, Michelle, I sent you an email, but I know that I sent you guys an email requesting a table sponsorship. I know it's $1,000. I know that's a lot of money, but it not only goes to a very good cause, but it also would give each and every one of you the opportunity to meet and greet some of the Joplin business leaders, because there's representatives of some of the biggest companies in the Joplin, Pittsburgh metro area that attend this event every year. I work with the Fletcher Auto Group. We host 5 events a year out here, 2 large scale events, and Horses of Hope is one of those. I hope that you'll consider in the next meeting not only being a table sponsor for this event, but I hope that each of you will come and meet and greet some of the Joplin Pittsburgh business community, because I think a lot of us don't know you that well. So I wanted to make that request, and I didn't know what avenue that I needed to go through, but when you had an open forum, I go, hey, I want to talk about Horses of Hope this morning. On a second note, and a much more personal note, I was a very big supporter of the previous chair. That election ended, and the minute that election ended, my support went to the Quapaw Nation. And you, Chairman, and you, Secretary, and each and every one of you have my full-throated support from that day. And you can talk to John E. Rogers. I told him the night of the election, this election's over, and if whatever non-gaming position or committee you'd like me to serve on, I serve at your pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate your remarks, Mr. Adams. Just so everyone in the audience and those listening at home can understand the hard line approach we took for downstream sponsorships. Basically drew a hard line in the sand and started reviewing all of those. Some of them as far back as the last decade were really out of control, going to places we'd never been before, going to people we'd never seen before. So, Mr. Adams, your request may have got lost in the shuffle during that decision-making process, but we'll take another look at it, and I have no problem with, things of that nature, and if it's going to help veterans with the PTSD process and remedying that, I'm all for that. So, and then to your second remark, we appreciate it. Thank you. Away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Minnie Francis. Good to see you all here, and I'm glad that we're able to come like this. Makes me feel good. I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the committee, just how this needs to be presented. I'm not sure whether it should be directed to the court system, the ICW worker, or where, but I'm sure in your hands it will be taken care of. A few days ago on social media, there was a picture of a small child between the ages of 10 and 12 in Springfield, Missouri.
If I could interrupt you respectfully, at this time, if we could keep names
Yes,
out of this?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. This child is Quapaw, and they were requesting any information as to his lineage. I saw the picture. I'm sure I recognize, a lot of features. I'm just wondering if there's some way that our tribe could contact the powers that be in Missouri and see if this child can be brought home, because it's up for adoption, but it's pending an investigation of its lineage and heritage. And I'm sure that, several people have seen this picture on the media and spread the word. Someone is going to identify this child and contact you. I just needed to put that out because, we have people watching, and I'm sure that someone will recognize this child and bring him home to our people where he belongs. Whether it's in our foster care or whatever, at least that child needs to be brought back to our tribe. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anytime Indian child welfare matters are at stake, those are of utmost interest, should be of utmost interest to our government, to our people. We'll definitely put it in the hands of the appropriate departments, enrollment committee, tribal court, and we'll get the ball rolling on that. Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Linda Davis, and I would just like to back up for just a moment. I don't personally know Mr. Adams, but I can tell you that through one of our grants that we received through Family Services, we had an opportunity to do 2 separate camps this week at Horses of Hope. And so with that being said, I had the opportunity to go there personally and witness our children that come from situations that are less than desirable than what you would want children in an environment to be. So if you guys could really take that into consideration, I would appreciate it, because not only do I personally know one of the licensed LPCs, the counselor, that she is a therapist, and got to witness her with the children and the interactions with the horse. And just to begin on a Monday with these children and end up on Friday in just 1 week's time, seeing them and the trust and the bond that they developed, it was an excellent opportunity, and not only was my life changed, but theirs as well. So thank you. Gonna go.
Thank you for that extra insight, and we'll definitely be considering that. So thank you. Anybody else like to take the floor? Going once? Going twice? Thanks, Barbara. Okay, yeah. In the midst of this whirlwind of transition and drinking from a fire hose, I sealed the deal with my partner, and got married, got hitched. From my understanding, I was the first wedding to happen in the tribal court by Judge Hammonds, and it was a pretty private affair. So thank you for your well wishes. Yes.
You didn't say 3 yet, did you?
No, I didn't say 3. Go right ahead.
My name's Patricia Davis, and I have a question about downstream daycare. Since the COVID came back, they have been closed on the weekends. It not only hurts the hotel where I work so bad, because these people call in every weekend because they don't have daycare. and they're not willing to try to get other daycare. And it's not just our department, it's every department at Downstream. You know, state paid daycare is open all through the week, so they could get alternative daycare any otherwhere else during the week. So I don't understand why we're not open on the weekends.
And what was your name?
Patricia Davis, and I work in hotel housekeeping.
It's a great question.
Thank you.
I don't have an answer for you today, but we'll definitely follow up with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. I'm Abigail. We'll leave it at that. I just have a question. Since you guys are redoing a lot of the Downstream and Quapaw Casino with employees, certain employees, are you going to retrain all the employees as well?
We're definitely looking into training. I know that there are instances where people have become content and comfortable, and we're just, like, take for instance, safety trainings, and that's just one of many that we've noticed that have kind of gone by the wayside. But we definitely want to make sure people are trained up and put in positions to succeed.
Along with that, you know, they don't know what customer service is. And it doesn't mean that the customer is always right, but if you are employed for our people, you should be treating every customer, no matter if they're a high roller, no matter if they are a tribal member, they should all be treated with the same courtesy and appreciation that they are coming into our businesses and spending their money.
Yeah, I agree. I think on the front end, whenever we're onboarding our employees and they're going through the new employee orientation process, we're looking at definitely revamping what they're trained on and how they're trained, and to reinforce that they do work for the Quapaw people, and to smile every now and then goes a long ways.
The whole, well, let me find someone because that's not my job.
Yeah. We'll work on that.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Oh, and thanks for getting rid of the secretary.
Any other questions from the floor? Any remarks? Yes, sir.
My name is John, and I was released from the Department of Corrections, Oklahoma, over a year ago. And before I went, I was employed by Downstream, and I worked out here as an auto tech. Now, it was my understanding when I went, I wasn't fired, I wasn't let go, anything. They just knew my condition or what I was going through. So they told me to come back out here when I got out and I'd have a job. When I came back out here to reapply after I was released, I was shut down before I even got anything. So my question is like, do you guys have a system or some type of work program that you can get rehabilitated offenders help? Or do you have some type of a job that you can give them, start them out somewhere? Because I put my application in over a year ago at the tribe. And I don't care if I'm out here shoveling dung or whatever I got to do. I want to represent my tribe, my nation. And I was shut down. So that's one thing I have to say. Another thing would be like, what about the lifetime hunting and fishing license? You know, do we offer, does this nation offer some type of assistance like that? Can we get back this hunter safety course that we had for the children that I took when I was 12 years old? Because I haven't seen anything like that. My last order of business would be like, my grandmother, Martha Ann Greenback, passed away in 15. My understanding is that she went to the tribe, spoke with Donna Mercer, I said, hey, I need some help on my house. It's falling down around me. The roof is collapsing, and she hasn't had any help. She passed. And now my mother, who's an elder in the tribe, Mary Ann McElroy, she has to stay in those conditions. Is there some kind of help that we could get? Is there some kind of something that we could do? Because like I said, she's an elder of the nation, and she needs that help. She's disabled. She lives off $900 a month. She can't afford that. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I just like to bring those things up, and thanks for listening to me.
John, I appreciate your remarks this morning and coming before us. And in terms of a reentry program, that's something that we've taken a special interest in. A lot of things have been happening for us in the last 50 days since taking our oath of office, but that is something that we would also like to see more efforts being put into. I feel like the COVID kind of put a damper on employment and issues surrounding that as well. I'm not saying that that was the case because your situation specifically was over a year ago, but I do want to tell you that we do have a lot of job opportunities that are available that I am pretty sure we could find a pretty good place for you to work for us, to work for your people. That being said, there's a lot of regulations that go into working at Downstream and our casinos specifically. And that's not anything that we do. It's more of a federal government, regulating us. We're highly regulated. And so I do want to encourage you to get with us after the meeting. And the hunting and fishing license is also one of those programs where we'd like to take a second look at to understand where we are, what our current situation is with the state, with the feds, and then hopefully come to some type of agreement where we can do something like that. Like you said, issue those hunting and fishing license, but also it may be a good opportunity to have our own type of wildlife department. And we're looking into expanding on that as well, maybe provide some jobs to our tribal members. And I just want to tell you personally that I was thinking about your mom on the drive up to this place this morning. And I was actually intending on coming to pay you all a visit after the business committee meeting.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say. The program I spoke about with the DOC offenders or anybody that's incarcerated, I turned to the wrong way when I was young, and I went the wrong direction. But when I was in there, I grew up, and I realized that I have to take care of my family. Number one, family first, and a lot of these kids, I say, that go into the Department of Corrections, they go into the system, man, they don't have anybody but their nation to support them. They live off social services, any kind of help that they can get to help them survive. And then if something happens, for whatever reason, they're making money for their family to support their family, and they get caught up, they go into the system, and then they have absolutely no help in there. So for them children, for the men, whoever's in prison, is there some kind of program that we could set up that would actually help them? You're not giving them the money to the offenders. You're giving them for whatever reasons, man. You could put it into programs, rehab programs, whatever, stuff like that. That's all I was asking for, so let's take a look at that.
We'll definitely consider that, absolutely.
All right. Gonna get.
Yeah,
Cool.
gonna get.
Hello.
Good morning.
My name is Norman Panther, and I work for Saracen. Just got hired on with the Saracen, but because I was working for QSA, and while working for QSA, you know, I was afforded, you know, a living, and now working for the Saracen, it's not feasible for me to really pay the rent where I'm living, but anyway, I've been working for the tribe for over a year now, and you know, and what John said about being, you know, incarcerated, you know, because I came out of prison after 27 years and 8 months, so you know, and being reformed, you know, ex-addict. Well, you know, I'll always be an addict, but I don't do drugs. You know, I don't drink, I don't do anything. You know, I get up, and my heart is Quapaw. I represent this tribe. You know, you see my car, you see. You know, I'm all about doing what's right, because I've learned, you know, knowledge is everything, you know, and I know there's programs and there's schooling that incarcerated people can take and do, and I've come through the VOTEX and learned different trades and whatnot while being incarcerated, because, like I said, you know, I've spent over half my life in prison, but that doesn't make me, you know, any less Quapaw. Anyway, I just want to commend y'all for picking up the reins down there at the Saracen and allowing me to be, you know, employed, and I want to continue to do that, because for me, freedom and you know, just a word that, you know, we say because, you know, that's what we have, that's what we are, you know, freedom to be, but freedom is, to me, is God's way of saying that you're doing the right thing, and I'm just proud to be Quapaw.
Norman, we appreciate your remarks, and thank you for the work that you're doing down there in Pine Bluff. We appreciate you being down there and representing us. Thank you for the cake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that old lady wants to get her cake container back.
I'll make sure it happens. Thank you. Yes. Tracy, did you want to say something?
Just so you can give it some thought, how many shopping days till Christmas? Many of us have memories of Christmas past for the children, where we had our bags of candy and apples, and we had all the toys and stuff. Different things have been done in past years. Over recent years, though, our children who live out of state have received nothing from the Quapaw. Nothing, nada, zilch, because they live out of state. But there are Quapaw kids, grandkids, great-grandchildren out there. Surely the tribe can do something, figure out something, so that all of our children can enjoy Christmas. Okay.
Thank you. We're working on that. Yes.
Hello, my name is Betty Gadke. I actually served on the Children's Christmas Party Committee for about 9 years, and I agree with Gracie. It's always been a problem, and I have 30 years in at the post office, so I kind of know how that all works. We were getting back a couple hundred of the gift cards, and the year that we attempted to do that and send a gift card to all of our Quapaw children, we had like $47,000 floating through the mail at a time when the post office has the highest stealing. So many of them came back. If that card got to a house that no longer had a tribal child living there, they still got a free gift card. So we tried it once. It didn't work out because the biggest problem that we seem to have had within the tribe is our updating on addresses. We've had Quapaw members move as much as 15 times in a year, and they don't fill out a change of address card. So it is a major problem, and I'm all for it if we can figure out how to make sure that every one of our kids do get that card and it doesn't go to some non-Quapaw or whoever happens to be the resident after there, or it goes to an old address and they didn't fill out a change of address. So it is a problem, but we did try it, and I'm all for trying it again. I'm not on that committee anymore, but I would be willing to. So I just wanted to add that. So.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning. My name is Molly Drapo. I'm Amy Panther's daughter. To reiterate on Gracie and Miss Betty's situation here, with the day and age of technology, for some of the parents who can't get an appropriate address for the tribal children, possibly sending out a email gift card. That way we ensure it gets to them. For those who have access to emails or any type of, can get to a library or something printed off. That's another option to getting it to them who live out of state. That's it.
Thank you for your recommendations.
Move it up a little bit. Good morning. My name is Johnny Rogers. After John Landrum spoke there, I just want to touch on some things. We do currently have positions available that don't hold the same standards of background checks as our gaming agencies do. We have QSA who needs help. We have the meat processing plant who's in dire need of help right now. So I know some of you have put in applications before, but I want to tell you that this is a new administration. They want Quapaws working. So if you put it in a year ago, put it back in. They told me they want Quapaws working. So we're going to get you to work. We've already got several people to work. And we got Lena in HR and at Downstream. So let's get you back to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, statements, concerns, remarks? Yes, Miss Barbara? Yeah. Agreed. All of the request forms don't have the proper line for email addresses, and we'll be taking that into consideration, as well as any other recommendations for helping smooth this process and ensuring that our tribal youth receive those funds. Thank you. Mike, you got anything to say? We'll wait till later. All right. Well, I want to give everybody their shot. So we're going to go ahead and move out of open forum into closed session, and any of the directors that don't have business with us are dismissed. Have a good weekend, and thank you.